Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
Like where are you at, like, with your career? Like, we're talking about knowing our worth, like leveling up. Where do you see yourself like going in the next like 2 years, 3 years?
Sure, that's a great question. I mean, since we talked, it's been a month almost, right? Maybe a little over.
You came in like a week after your last fight.
Correct. Yeah, so it's been over a month for sure, and it's been great, man, because for the first time in so much time, I've been able to sit and just be here in my body without that like background noise of like something's on your heels, which is an upcoming fight, or news of the next fight, right? Which is a different feeling, but it's been nice. I've been able to like slow down in here and kind of gauge, clean up some areas of my life that I feel like I was slacking on because I was so focused on fighting all the time. Simple things, bro, organization and setting a new structure for myself, right?
When was the last time you had that time? Like this?
Before Logan was born, realistically. And of course, now I feel this pull to kind of share what I've gained over the years, of all the knowledge I've gained. So I'm going to start coaching, of course, with Rodrigo. But I have some other things in the works right now that are very like grassroots level, but kind of reaching out to share the striking aspect of like kickboxing and MMA style of striking with like a younger generation, like Logan's age. I feel like there's a big market for me to tap in with kids Logan's age who, when I was 14, would have been sick if I knew a guy like me that was willing to work with me in like groups. So I've thought about doing like weekend seminars, for instance, right? Where you just get together at a park with X amount of people from this age to this age, and for 3 days you guys work on fundamentals of striking, but along with that, you chime in the breathwork conversations and, releasing the emotions that hold you in. A lot of these kids are angry or anxious or nervous about everything. And for me, whenever I started training, it was a place for all of that to go and just disappear. Yeah. And it helped so much,
There's a difference between like that emotion moving you and you moving out of that emotion.
And I feel like I have the same ability you have to make fighting and like coach somebody an hour of boxing, but then they leave and 3 weeks later they're like, oh shit, that wasn't even about boxing, because I'm noticing these things in my day-to-day which follow me into the gym. So for these kids, they'll be like, cool, I'm gonna learn how to fight from a UFC fighter, and then but really I'm in there, you're gonna learn how to throw hands, but you're also there's gonna be so much takeaway from here that just kind of planting seeds in there.
Like I was training somebody today, and they had sparred yesterday.
You think you're gonna learn how to fight so you can go beat up kids at school? By the time you're done with me, you're gonna be like, damn, I don't have to.
You don't want to fight.
I don't want to fight, actually. Why?
Well, it's as a case, and people that learn how to fight don't want to fight.
It's interesting, man.
You don't. I mean, most cases, right?
Most cases, you're always gonna have your.
Yeah, the guys that just want to beat everybody up, but
your wild
in most cases, people that learn how to fight don't want to fight. They just use it for in case they need it.
Even if you go into it with this like villain mentality, like, oh, I'm gonna fuck these guys up when I learn how to fight. They're gonna see, at some point, it's weird. It just that turns off.
That only gets you so far.
Yeah.
But I was training somebody today who sparred yesterday, and he was saying, like, I was watching his videos, and I was like, oh man, like you would think he's visualizing 5 guys in there, right? Like this guy's not even throwing back really, and he's already kind of like anticipating it. So I asked him like, hey, did you ever get jumped? Like, did you ever get jumped or anything? He's like, yeah, bro, I actually did. And I was like, it looks like it. Like, it looks like you're waiting for that to happen. Like, you're seeing 5 guys and there's only one guy there, but you're seeing 5 guys, and you're
Yeah.
ready. Like
I
you're
was in a
got,
Bruce Lee scene.
Mhm.
In a Bruce Lee scene.
yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Like all these guys are coming out, and I was like, man, like that's a big one because I can see it. I can see you in there. Well, you're letting your ghost win every day. You know what I mean? Like you're not really fighting them back. You know, you're letting them win.
One of one of Logan's friends was over, and with 2 of Logan's homies were over, and they were sparring in his bedroom, and I was in there, and this one kid, he uses this like cocky little shit talking anger to try to intimidate the guy that he's sparring. He's like, he'll start like, oh yeah, what's up? Like little things like that, and I asked him, I was like,
He's a verbal spar.
I was like, does that help? Do you think that helps you? And are you aware of that whole thing you're doing? And I was like, let me like do it with me, and we were moving just a little bit, and he would do that thing, and I'd be like, that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because I was poking at that. I'm like, you're not intimidating at all, actually. And
You're like
technique is
bursting his
terrible,
bubble. You're bursting his bubble a
you
little
know? And we had a conversation about that. I'm like, what are you trying to, like, what is this between you and the guy you're sparring against that you think you have to hold up this wall and you think that's helping you? And within 5 minutes, it was like, oh shit, I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's something else going on. Is like, I don't know what it is, but he feels like he has to.
Because we always, like, you know, if you're around the game long enough or, like, combat sports, you realize that guy's not the tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, the guy who's showing you all that emotion right off the bat, that's not the tough guy. The guy that's in the corner quiet, observing everything is probably the toughest guy in the room. He's the one that's going to kick your ass. It's not the guy that's going to be verbal about it, like, kind of boasting about what he's going to do. Or,
It's
you
the
know
guy
what I mean?
that's staring at the floor, dude.
Yeah.
Right while he wraps his hands, not a word.
That's the one that's
That's when you
scary
worry
one.
about.
Yeah, for
That's when you
sure,
worry about.
bro.
My dad used to say, when I was young, my dad would always say, always be careful with the baby face guys. Those guys can always fight.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, the ones that you would just think never could fight. A little kid, he can't fight. My dad always said, those are the fighters.
There are, though, some cases where some guys are just like that all the time, where they are loudmouth and like. There's this, I forget what his name is. There's this group of guys in the UFC call themselves the MMA fight nerds, MMA nerds. I don't know. You know who I'm talking about if you saw one of these guys. I can't remember what his name is, but when I was in Vegas training, there was like 20 to 30 of us on the mat at any time. A lot of UFC names too. And every time he was in there, bro, whoever he was like partnered up with, and I think he fights at 45, he was yelling and and like acting. That same energy that he has in the fight was there. And even when he was off the mat, he just always had this like, you know. I think that's more common. I don't know if it's. I actually don't know the boxing scene to the level y'all do, but it's more common in MMA from what I've noticed. Some guys that are just kind of wildcats. They just act like that. That's just who they are.
I don't know if like
They're
I know in boxing a lot. Like I don't know if it happens in like MMA or UFC. In MMA, necessarily like on the local level, but like guys have like groups or like for boxing, you're defined and you're representing your gym. Like you're gonna stand up and have that kind of like for your gym. You know what I mean? Is it like that for MMA guys too?
Yes.
Because you're going to different gyms. Like it's you know you're.
There's a lot of these guys though that you know travel from Brazil and they live here for whatever amount of time. I think in MMA it's more so you're representing your overall. It's more of like a nationality representation. Like you're fighting for your country type thing for a lot of these guys, especially now that you've got these Dagestans and these Georgians and all different corners of the world that are starting to build their own like legion, you know. But yes, I mean, for the guys that have their coach, then yes, you are a representation of your gym.
Like there's a lot. I mean, are there a lot of MMA gyms here in town?
No.
That can have that kind of, or are y'all all kind of together, like helping each other out?
No, it's weird, man. I feel like it's weird. That's the thing about MMA, and I don't. It is like this everywhere, where it's very like feudal Japan-ish, you know. So now here in SA, there's 2 major gyms, which is my gym and Ohana, and it's really more the coaches thing. Like Pete, Rodrigo, they're you don't go train at the other gym. It's this.
Pete and Rodrigo, are they still partners? Okay, because
Rodrigo just opened up a big gym, dude. Did y'all see it yet?
No.
You haven't seen it on Instagram or anything? Man. So you remember where he was, right? Right there next to Box Beat?
Yeah.
So he bought the plot of land. There's a barbecue outfitters right next to the shopping center. Behind that, he bought out 5 acres maybe? I don't know. No, that's too much. More than 2 though. And the facility he built, dude, it's like I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty mecca MMA gym type thing, because there's two mats with a wall separating them and like a walkway in between, and each mat space it's huge, bro. I would say like I can't even 30 yards across, 30 to 40 yards across, 20 this way. It's huge. Both mats are just about that size. But then now he has locker rooms with multiple lockers, showers, which he didn't have at the last gym. Nice lounge in the front with nice furniture. It feels very, very, very polished. Neon signs with his brand, you know. And then in the back, there's like a separate gym that's still hollow right now. But his idea is put a CrossFit gym in there, which I don't feel like CrossFit's the way to go.
It doesn't complement.
It's not me, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, still, like, it's a lot of space, bro. A lot. It's huge. But he's been at that location now for 15 years since I met him. You know, it's huge. I think he spent like. We're not on.
No, we're on. We've been on.
Yeah, we've been on, and we're live.
Yeah.
I think he spent like $5 million over the last like 10 years on it, because it's all been his money. He just dumped everything into it, bro. Which, you know, he took the risk, but he also has multiple streams of income. Like Rodrigo, bro, that story's crazy.
Yeah.
When he got here 20 years ago, 23 at the most, he had $100 to his name, and the dude comes from the bum slums of like whatever Fast and the Furious scene from the slums you can think of. Like, that's where he's from. And now he has this gym. He owns multiple properties in Brazil of apartments. He's got like 6 or 7 streams of income consistent. The dude's he's set in a crazy way.
Yeah.
You know, and he's only 40.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, man. And that gym's really nice.
But it's really like, you would say, like, other gyms don't fuck with other gyms. You know,
No.
it's like that in boxing too. I think it's changing in boxing a little bit, where you see more guys going and sparring in other gyms and all that. Back in the day, I don't think you did that.
Well, we used to do that. We used to go. Well, they used to come to our gym more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about
your day.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My day. We used to go to other gyms, but they usually came to our gym because it was a bigger gym. They spar there and they go back, but it's always been around, but not as much.
There's no camaraderie though. Like, there's no like you're hanging out with the guy.
They come on, you want to beat them up.
Yeah, exactly.
They're from a different gym.
Yeah.
And with the UFC though, like, I will say for like my weight class specifically, it seemed like most guys were pretty level-headed and conducted themselves.
Because you were saying that they wanted to kind of, you saw when you went to like Vegas, you were saying they were kind of more helping you out. It was more of like camaraderie, right?
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, I was, for the weeks that I was there, they especially if, it's just about how you show up too. And I'm really good at like presenting that. Like, I'm here for this amount of time. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm trying to get help. I don't want to get injured out here. So you know, what is the safer space for me to train at without having to feel like I'm fighting for my life every day?
Yeah,
because that's something that I wasn't down with. I haven't been down like that in a while.
Yeah,
I felt like fighting. Yeah, but sparring like an animal never really.
Talk about fighting. So that UFC fight's coming out here, right? San Antonio. Did you think about, man, maybe I could fight on this card?
Yes, but
it would make so much sense to put you on the
I had
card.
that conversation with my brother, but it's also not something that I'm leaning hope on. It's like, yeah, if they were to contact me for it, then I'd for sure do it. I think one of my coaches was like, dude, if you take a couple fights on the regional level and get you a couple wins back to back. But to be honest, I'm like,
that's not. Yeah.
I don't want to take 2 fights for the chance that I'll get put on this card.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't it doesn't do anything for me as far as knowing what it takes to lock in for something like this. The risk to reward for me right now is just no interest in fighting locally, personally right now. Or
so where is the interest?
Right now it's just in what I was saying, like
teaching,
building a program with Rodrigo, and then seeing how I can stretch my brand out, my own personal thing, starting with what I was telling you guys about, and taking it from there. We had this conversation about jumping into a podcast scene, and I guess just using more of all of the different assets of my personality, and not just personality, but what I feel comes natural to me, and using that more. But
Because
right
then it
now,
would
it's
still
not
be-
like there hasn't been a thing on the surface that's like, oh man, I really want to get back to the UFC.
Yeah. Because then that brand's still
Yeah.
representing you, or you're still representing that brand instead of your brand.
Right.
You
Yeah.
want to build your brand,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Mm,
You
that
know?
makes sense. So like no more like octagon or what? Like you sparring or are you training or like what's going on?
I haven't been training. I've been doing a lot of like resetting mobility wise and just lifting, like getting out of the frame that I was holding in for so long. So fighting at 125, I feel like the frame that I was having to maintain all the time was so lean and like smaller that now I'm trying to see, let
what
me
can you
fill
do
this
with this
frame
body?
out for a few months and see if I can't, get my frame up to like, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds of like some good, decent muscle. And then for sure getting back to training, sparring for the fun of it. And when that like light turns back on where I'm like, yeah, I want to express that again, that side of myself again, but I don't want it to be tied to I'm doing this because there's a chance that I'll get called for a fight, because that what I found there's like a underbelly side of that has like a lot of anxiety and racing thoughts from me. I'm already there's a lot of thoughts going on all the time from different directions in my head as it is, but when I add that fight or flight thing that fighting brings out of me, sparring, it was so hard for me not to make it a fucking life or death situation in here, where like when you're a kid and you're like, if I miss this last shot, my whole family's gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this weird pressure you put on yourself around it. But as I've gotten older, it just kind of like evolved, especially with fighting. So if I'm sparring and I have a bad day in sparring, it's a slippery slope toward. There was days where I'd leave the gym and like my self-worth was like down here for a couple days. And the only thing that would bring it back up was having a good day of sparring or a really good private with one of my coaches. And to be on the other side of that, I sat with that for. I'm like, interesting. I put most of my self-worth into this external thing of how I was perceived in this session based off of what other people were thinking.
Did you have a moment like that at all, like in your
No,
career?
I'm just thinking about that right now. We had bad days, of course, sparring and stuff, and the other guy got the best of you. All I thought was like, can't wait to spar him again or whatever. I had a bad day, right? I had a bad day, but I don't think, and I think it's how kids are raised nowadays or just before compared to the way I was raised. I was raised, you suck it up and toughen it out and let's go the next day or whatever, right?
Right.
It was that type. That's what we heard from our parents all the time. What are you crying about? Let's go, toughen up, right? Even boys all the time. When a boy falls down on the street and cuts himself, what's the dad say? Get up, you're a boy, stop crying.
Which I think you need.
And that, well, no,
some
to a
degree,
point, but it's not.
1000%.
I'm not saying it's right.
No.
I'm saying that's all we heard.
For sure.
And so while we're in sparring and stuff,
Absolutely.
we get beat up and
Yeah.
you're mad and I have to get back the next day or whatever. But today it's different. I think now kids or everyone feel that, man, if they have a bad day, it ruins their day, it ruins everything, and their minds are thinking nonstop about it.
Right.
I don't know if that's how if we thought about that much or not back then, but no big deal. I'm gonna go home and eat and come back.
I would think like a lot of that too. Again, the therapist. What does the therapist say? That the therapist would say it's the way you're raised, right? Where like what he's saying, we just get over it because our parents would say, "Well, come on, like shake it off, go, keep going, whatever," right? And that makes that moment this small. Where like if we have a bad day and the parent comes in and says, "Oh man, like real catering," and it makes that moment this big now, right? So you gotta think about it, like the way you're saying it, the way like your parents would raise you, they're making that moment this small. You had a bad day, well get over it. Come on, like whatever, right?
There's always
Get over
tomorrow.
it. There's always tomorrow, right? It's like that little. They're making it this small where now their parent may really go and rush and pick up the kid falls. They're, oh man, let me rock you and whatever, right? Like, so now the moment's this big. Right, and maybe we grow up with that, where it's like, damn, like this moment was this big. You know what I mean? I didn't have anybody to say, well, just keep going, like whatever, like not make it, like let's just minimize it. And you never know. Maybe that's just what, like we didn't choose the way we were being parented. You know what I mean? Like we always say like, well, like millennials, right? Y'all got a trophy for everything. Everyone's a winner, right? But I didn't make those rules.
Yeah.
I didn't make that. I didn't make that choice of everyone has to play.
Yeah.
That's our parents.
Now, from the perspective of you being a parent, where do you land? On
Me having girls,
right?
so me having a 7-year-old, I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, where do I have to plug in? Like, it's my job. I'm kind of seeing her like that's my daughter, but I'm seeing her as more of like, what do I have to plug into you, right? That you don't have already. So is it like competitive edge? Like, my daughter is very much of the, well, it's okay if you lose. Like, it's all right. Like, if you tried, like, if I lose, it's okay if you lose, Dad. Like, you know, you tried your best, right? Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if she loses, I'll be like, yeah, I won. Did you see that? I won. And she'll be like, no, I mean, you can't win like that. That's not how you win. You got to be nice when you win.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I am. My daughter.
Oh, no, but I'm saying where
she's not. I don't know where she's getting that from.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like, okay. I mean, I am being nice. I'm being nice to me. I won. I'm happy I won. And she goes, but you have to be happy for this person too. They tried their best. I'm like, yeah, but I won. I tried better. Right. And so I'm giving her that little
push and pull.
I'm giving her that little thing. Yeah, you're right too, but I'm right.
She hates to lose though.
She doesn't like to lose.
See, that's funny because she's like,
so
no.
She's so competitive. She's
very
so
competitive, but she tries to go around like maybe feeling like being competitive isn't good. So she's trying to justify it to herself, like, no, I mean, I want to win, but it's okay if I lose. It's all right. Let's play again. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, she'll want to win.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I get it, but I'm just trying to, as a parent, I'm trying to plug into what she doesn't have. You know what I mean? Like, if she's overly, like, crybaby about every little thing, I'm gonna toughen her up. Right now, I'm still trying to feel out where she's at because it depends on what we're talking about. She has little lanes too. You know, like, she doesn't like to lose, but she hasn't lost yet.
Yeah, and that's
you know what I mean?
That's where the conversations have been with me and Logan lately. Which, if Logan wants to take this route that he talks about, which is the combat sports, boxing specifically, like if that's the route we're going, to the level that you are trying to take it to, then I don't want to hear I don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. Whatever's hurting right now, and I can't because like,
yeah, it's
what?
It's part of the game.
Like,
right?
you want to be involved in the hardest like talking about, you have to have the thickest armor as a fighter of any other sport, rugby maybe, right? And there are other sports, of course, but this is fighting, bro. And so this whole like, man, my knee's hurting today, I should probably take the day off, or I twisted my ankle a little bit and I'm like, nah, because you're gonna yes, we have to figure out, am I hurt or am I injured? Okay, if I'm injured, cool, yeah, let's see what's going on. If this hurts really bad, nah, we're pushing through that. If this is the route you want to take, if you don't want to be a professional boxer, then you don't have to have you don't have to build such a hard external about yourself. Yeah. In this specific way, you know. And
like we were saying, like those guys that are really like overly like talkative and like really try to intimidate.
Right. Yeah.
They're letting that talk for them instead of their game.
1000%.
So I always think like, if that guy's talking, he must not have a great game. Like, he must not have a good fight style, or he must not know what we know because he's trying to get this to intimidate me. He's trying to dilute me before it even starts, which tells me he's not really relying on his game.
Right.
I don't gotta talk to you because I can trust my game, right? Like, even if I'm not the greatest, I'm still gonna trust my game. I'm not gonna start the fight here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna help me talking to you, but I'm gonna show you my game.
Yeah. And like when Logan broke his toe, you know, he was out for 6 weeks, and it was like this part of the toe, right? But it was over the growth plate, so they wanted to make sure that he didn't need surgery, and he didn't. And it healed really well, but it was like 6 weeks in this boot, and 2 weeks in, I noticed a shift in his behavior. He was very like, wouldn't look you in your eyes, was kind of snappy. And one day on the way to school, I was like, hey, is everything good? Because I've noticed this, and this from past week or so. And he's like, no, I don't. I feel like tight, and I feel like I can't do anything because my foot's broken. I'm in this boot, and all that self-conscious of like being at school as an 8th grader with a boot, and that little bubble of invincibility that you have as a kid, that's gone, you know. And it was that like injury anxiety, like when is it? This is never going to go better, and how am I going to bounce back from this? So of course, it was cool that he was able to name that. When I'm like, bro is just not able to get it out, and the conversations became, this, I know, bro. Like, I fucking know.
Well, I think a lot of that too with kids at our gym, or people that come to our gym, they haven't been there in a while. They're tense. They come back He said, I need this so bad. And they need a release. Maybe that's what he wants, is that release of his,
Oh, for sure.
whatever it is, right? The
For
mental
sure.
release, the physical release. A lot of people need that, and they don't even figure out, they don't even know they're doing it, or why they're hitting the bag, or why they feel so good when they leave the gym.
They didn't even feel it being pent up. Like, they didn't even
Yeah.
feel it growing on itself.
No.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they don't even know until they get to the gym and they hit bags and they hit stuff, and it's like, oh my God, I feel so good when I get home.
I think boys too.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you need this.
Mm.
Every boy has aggression in him. I mean, every boy wants to wrestle with his brother
Yeah.
or whoever's around. Every boy at 13 or 14, which I noticed, like, that's where Logan's at, and that's where I was at. Where you start looking around at your friend group, and you're like, "Fuck, I'll beat it." Like, I'm gonna beat all your asses, and you guys want to test that.
Yeah.
And me and my friends were wrestling all the time in high school before I was training.
Because you're looking for who's the alpha.
You're building that hierarchy, and as a boy, you need to express that. Boxing, jiu-jitsu, combat sports overall is the best way to do it. But that was the tail end of the bat. Was like, yes, I understand that, and you're going to feel way better when you get out of this. You have to make sure that now we're talking about, how do you recover? Do you take the boot off, and because the doctor said you're good to go, do you just go back out there? Because now you're running out there with so many compensations that you're not aware
Muscles
of.
that haven't even
You're
worked
gonna end
for
up
a while.
you're gonna end up hurting your knee, guaranteed, or something else.
You tell them that time. We don't even have boots. We just had tape.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
right?
We didn't have boots.
And so, which was the thing with Logan, like, dude, and also, you want to be a fighter, and you didn't even do this fighting, but these little setbacks, things like that, are going to happen along the way.
part
And
of
if
the
you don't
game.
have this fortified properly, it's going to ruin you.
Because that was the thing where, like, you entered in boxing, you injure one arm. Now it's time to grow the other one, right? Like, you injure your right hand. Okay, you're gonna be jabbing a lot today.
Correct. Yeah.
You're gonna really
You're
get
gonna
good at
perfect
this.
that left
Your
hand.
now
Yeah.
your movement is going to be on point or on par. And all
Exactly.
these places that you were lacking in now can grow because you're
Yeah.
not, you don't
Exactly.
have this now. And that was, and every time he'd come to me with some like, well, no, Dad, like, this really sucks. Like, no, seriously, because, like, what, and it was all this, like, he would almost try to give me you don't know what this is like. And every time he would even go there, I'm like,
Yeah.
Logan, like, I was on a surgery table 8 times, okay?
You don't know what I'm feeling, Dad.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny when it comes to fighting. I'm like, whatever you're bringing to me, dude, if you want to fight, like, I don't want to hear it, because I could tell you, if you want to know how to get past this, I'm your guy. And I've always told him, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And there's certain parts of Logan that, even though he looks up to me, and like, it's funny because Logan really does have the, like, I'm on a pedestal for him, and but there's still some parts of him where he's like still 14, and still a part of him thinks that he might know more than me.
Yeah.
So he'll be like, I don't know. And so I don't push too hard on those parts. I'm like, well, if you want to get past this better than what you're dealing with right now, let me know. And if this is how you want to handle it for yourself, well, you're going to see that this is, like, mentally, this is going to wear on you. And it'll come to a point where he'll come back with it and be like, yeah, well, what do you think I should do?
It's almost like letting him fall to come back.
Yeah. Because I don't want to rush to, like, pull him out of this thing that he's experiencing, because you're going to fight. You're going to go in that ring alone at the end of the day. You have to be able to
Figure it
sort
out.
some of these things out yourself.
Yeah.
But you do have a pretty decent guide here if you need one.
Yeah. That's just the thing is, the problem is your dad.
I am Dad. Correct.
That's the problem.
And that is, yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'm aware of that.
You think
too.
you know it all, Dad.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's also the thing too of, like, I can see it being on this end too, where he also knows where you've fallen, right? So there's also, like, yeah, you know what you're talking about here, but then I've seen you make a mistake here. So, like, I know your flaws too. So
Right.
how much does that cross over, right?
100%.
Like, are you right or are you wrong? I've seen you wrong before. I've seen you not do this right. So do I trust you like that with all of this? Like, I know you know what you're talking about, but at the same time, I thought you knew what you were talking about here.
Right.
And that's kind of like you're on a pedestal, but you're also human.
1000%.
Right, so it's one of those things, not just on your perspective, but
Right.
on his perspective, because it's
Exactly.
also like, well, I've seen you mess up too, So which one is it today?
Which,
you know?
I will say this, I've always been conscious of this as he's been growing up, is I never wanted to be the I know and you, because there's a lot of thing about my childhood where my parents, and just that, even aunts, uncles, it was almost like, no, that's not, what I say goes type vibe. I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything.
Yeah.
And when I got back from Mexico, dude, it was weird because,
Show me your
we
last
have a
fight.
super open, Logan and I are just, it's open door, bro. And And I've built that where it's like you can share whatever's going on in here and here, like it's here and with no judgment. And he was mad at me. There was like a part of him that was like angry with me. He was like, it was like, I can't believe you lost. You know, I can't believe. And then when he found out that I didn't get re-signed, it was like, it was like all at once.
I can
Like,
imagine. Yeah.
So he was saying it's a fall
he's
from
like,
grace.
I bought into this dream with you, you know, like
Yeah.
I was just involved in this with you.
Yeah, it was his
And it was
loss
a
too.
rough conversation, bro.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was like, for me, it was heavy. It was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one of those with him too.
You know, I
remember-
cried in the
I
shower
remember-
about it because
I
it's
remember-
like, damn.
yeah.
But once I was on the other side of that, it's like, yeah, the fall of Icarus, you know, you fly too close to the sun and you've seen me collapse, like build something, collapse, build it up again, collapse. And yes, on the surface, it looks like, oh, the dream is gone. But what you will see in time is that this whole thing was never really about winning this many fights or becoming champion, for me at least. It was all more self-development and who I was going to become when I make it to this point, regardless of what the outside circumstance or outcome is, the wins and losses and all that. You know, like you've said many times, you've already fought at the pinnacle multiple times in the biggest stages amongst the biggest fighters, which, of course, I didn't achieve externally what I had set out to in the UFC, in the way that I envisioned it, correct? But I still went all in on the deck the entire time. And on the other side of it, there's this development that's happened for me.
And realistically, you probably overshot where you thought you were going to be too. I mean, you're thinking high, but no one thinks they're going to be where you got. Realistically, you know what I mean?
I don't
like,
know, man, 'cause
you can't think you like how many people were signed to UFC when you were doing all this?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Is like that's one thing that I do think really set me apart was that I've always had that where it's like I know like that's what's gonna happen. Like I actually know this is gonna happen. I'm gonna make it to the UFC. I'm gonna be champion. All these things weren't there wasn't that at all. Which is, I mean, if all the times that I was like out for a year or so with an injury, even then it was never like, well, damn. Where
It's
it
not
really
gonna happen.
settled in.
It's
It's
not
not
gonna
gonna happen now.
It's gonna happen.
No, not that
You know?
you thought
Just
it wasn't
waiting
going to
to-
happen, but like no one, like even for him, like I wouldn't think like everyone says they want to be a world champion, but
For sure.
realistically, it's like okay, well, I'm still here at the local level. Like you can have those aspirations and those dreams, but like you seeing yourself there, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's different. That's like
Correct.
you know you
Stepping
can't
into what you.
yeah, like to what you actually believe. Like you still have 6 more fights on the local level before you even think about doing any of that stuff. So like realistically, you can't think you're just on this path to go
Right.
there. Right? You got to get that first fight done first.
100%.
So like even I'm thinking you probably overshot what you thought was possible. Not that you didn't doubt, not that you doubted yourself at all. You knew you can keep going and you were good. But realistically, like who's
It's
up
like,
here?
it's like one
You know what
night
I mean?
you're in bed and you said, "Man, I'm actually in the UFC
Yeah, yeah.
compound. I'm actually
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm
come on,
fighting
how did this
in
happen?"
Madison Square Garden. Like I'm actually here. Like
It was
you know what I
actually
mean?
way after that too. I think it was like it wasn't until fucking I don't even remember where it was. It was after the Madison Square Garden thing because that didn't really settle in. It was like a year after being in the UFC. I was like, oh shit.
But those are the things you're gonna
That's
think
crazy.
about later.
I'm actually here now.
You might think about those later. You know what I mean? Like it's when it's, yo, like what?
Well, I'll guarantee you, he's gonna think about that. 10 years from now, you're like, I was actually a UFC fighter. I made it there. I was there.
Yeah.
And like that's not. It's not possible.
Get 10 years into training kids, and then
Yeah.
you'll look back and you'll be like, damn, I was actually that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny is I told Dito, I was like, we should go to the Noche card here
Yeah.
and sit in the stands, and I'll wear like a fedora with my hair back, and I'll be like, you know, I was a UFC fighter myself. You know,
that's
I
what
was
I'm
fighting
saying.
right there.
That's
Back
what's-
when this was the AT&T Center.
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna
I'll
happen.
become that guy, dude.
Yeah.
Put on, it's all bonsai,
Yeah.
bro, and these guys are like, who the fuck is? No, you weren't. I'm like, look me up.
It's funny because the route you're on almost like just with Logan reminds me of me and him because he kind of had that fall from grace and from me in a way. When he lost the title, I was kind of like, damn, like wake up moment for me.
You're not invincible.
Yeah,
Well, the first thing he asked me when I got home, he goes, "Dad, what'd you do wrong?"
yeah.
Instead of like feeling bad,
Were you was there anything where you like was it hard to face him after hard losses or at any point in your career? Did you ever, you know?
no,
No?
it was not that way, but it was like a. I always wanted my kids to be proud, right? But when he said, "Dad, what'd you do wrong?" Like, wow.
like, he saw it. You
Like,
know,
I was
like,
like he was already he was looking at me figuring out what I did wrong.
Yeah.
Not like what they do right is what I did wrong. Like, man, you must have dropped your hand. You must have did something wrong, right? Yep. What did you do wrong?
I can't give him the credit.
Yeah,
I didn't know this, but he was telling me that back when he was a pro, he was doing this thing with you where he was like, nah, I'm gonna knock. What would you say? You had like a chip on your shoulder.
I was just saying, like when I was fighting, I would look at him, I would see my dad, like, cause I wasn't fighting the guy in front of me. Who's that guy? I'm not aiming for that.
Right, I remember that.
I'm aiming for my dad.
Well, you would tell him things too. You would kind of like talk shit.
I would tell him like, man, I want to erase you. Like, like that. It's my name now.
What was that like?
You know what I mean? But it's good. I mean, you need that.
I wanted him to think that way.
I like that.
You gotta think that way. If you don't think that way,
Who's that man, the boxer, black man? What's his name? Talks like this. Always wears a bow tie.
Oh, you're talking about?
Is it Eubanks?
That sounds like Eubanks and the dad.
Yeah. So the dad, right?
The dad's
and his son is
one.
Chris Eubanks, right?
Yeah.
I saw a video which was super cool. It was like camcorder footage of. No, it wasn't camcorder footage. It was like old, like maybe from like 2000. I don't remember when this kid was young, Chris, and was talking to his dad about becoming a boxer.
Oh yeah,
you saw a video?
His dad, I saw that.
His dad was like, I don't know.
He said, "Dad, I want to be a fighter. I want to." He goes, "You don't want to be a fighter. It's too much. It's too much of this. You got to do this. You got to do that." And
he's like, "You got it made. Look at you. Like you're not gonna. What?
You can't be a good fighter. Look where you're coming from."
Yeah. And he like shot it down. And then at the end of the conversation, his dad was like, "Okay, look, if you want to do this, I'll help you, but I don't know if you actually want to do this." And Chris walks off, and he just looks over and tells the camera like what he was actually thinking. He was like, "I'll tell you right now, if he does want to do this, he'll be a real bad man in this." And it was like he had to plant that seed in his son to where he had to give his son something to like, "Oh, fucking, you don't think I can do this now?"
Because the whole thing about it is like there's some guys at the gym too, and I can relate to this. Everyone thinks that the tough guy is the guy who has to fight, who's coming from the slums, and I'm not saying they're not tough because they are plenty tough, right?
1000%.
But it's always like, well, you're doing this because you got to do this. I'm doing this because I want to do this. Like, it's not like he always told me. You're gonna run into a guy who's tougher than you at some point, and I keep thinking, but they're all here because they have to be here. I'm here because I want to be. Like, who wants to do this? Like, I gauge that.
I think the difference is when you want to be somewhere, you question yourself: do I really want to be here that bad? When someone's coming from the slums, they have to be here no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm looking at someone, I'm like, man, you got to be here. You got no other choice. I got all the choices in the world, and I'm still here in front of you.
It's like Creed.
You know what I mean? It's like, I could not be here. I've already thought about this. It's not like I'm here looking at you and I'm thinking, do I really want to do this? I've been thinking about this since I've been sparring.
Yep.
I've been thinking about this since I was doing my 8-mile run.
And this data that you're downloading right now, dude, this is like encoded in me already.
Yeah.
It's all I saw growing up.
You know what I mean? So it's like you didn't see this. Like you're learning how to walk here, bro. I've been this. So like who's really tough here? You, the guy who doesn't have any background, who just thinks he's tough because he comes from this background. Not everyone in that background is tough. You know, there's some tough guys in your neighborhood, and y'all aren't all tough. Y'all aren't all dogs. There's dudes that are getting fucked. It's not all
that's
you.
True.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. That's
just because you came from that doesn't mean you're tough. Like,
well,
so what?
You gotta have some.
You're probably resilient.
You gotta have some. You gotta have some good genes in you too.
But everyone always dilutes the guy who doesn't, like me. Like everyone's always looking at like, well, you don't gotta do this, so like whatever. Like, but I'm thinking, yeah, I don't have to do this, and I'm still here. I'm still running. I'm working harder than you, and I don't have to do this.
Yeah. And to your point from earlier is like, you watch out for the. Would you say the clean face guys or the
baby face
guys? Like, yeah, you have everything. You grew up with all the.
Think about it.
All
I
the
have
luxuries
everything
of the world. And you're a good looking guy, you speak well, and you're still out here like, okay,
I'm still out here.
You got to watch out for this guy actually.
It's not even about me. There's guys at the gym that are like that have good backgrounds, especially we're on the north side. There's guys that have great families, they have it all, and they're plenty tough. You know what I mean? It's because they want it. And you're here because you need it. I'm here because I want it.
Yeah, and tough also, of course, tough is like the first floor of what you need to make it to that place. And
there's no separator. Like you're like Chris Eubanks. You have everything, but man, you're here. You can win. Like you can reach that top. You don't have to be. And not everyone from the slums is gonna reach that. Just because you're from there doesn't mean anything.
That's kind of funny how we're talking about that. They're kind of saying that about Julio Cesar Chavez and his son Chavez Jr., who's gonna fight Jake Paul. That Chavez Jr. is not as tough as his dad. because he didn't have to be because his dad gave him everything. But he's pretty tough.
Yeah.
He fought some deep, big
Yeah,
fights.
and if your main comparison point is saying you're not as tough as Julio Cesar Chavez, well, fuck,
Who is?
Probably not. You know what I mean?
Half of the world ain't.
Yeah, neither are you or anybody you've ever known.
Exactly.
all of us together aren't that tough.
Yeah.
It's-
But that's
you're
the whole
tougher than
thing.
most guys around you
Yeah.
just because of that.
But that's the whole thing. Like, and again, just to relate it to me, because that's all I can relate to. That's all the background I have is my experience with my dad fighting. Right? They're telling me, well, you're not your dad. Well, who the fuck is? There's only one, right? Like, there is only one. Like, who else is there? Like, who else is? Like, why is my ceiling that high? Right? Like Bronny James. It's like, well, he's not LeBron James. Well, who else is?
yeah.
Who else has that many points? Like, who? Like, you're comparing him to the ultimate? Like, how? He didn't. And that's what I was telling him too. Like, this is something for people who are watching. If, like, when I was an amateur, I came into the amateur game and I had to win. I was on TV. I was doing all this stuff. They were interviewing me. I got more exposure than most pros here in town. I had to win, right? When I turned pro, they're expecting me to win, but I didn't have that much experience going in. So I had nothing to really fall back on and think, well, I made it this far. I beat this guy. I beat this guy. I beat this guy. I was tested here and I won. So right now I have a lot to base my confidence off of. You know what I mean? Like, let's say him coming up. He went to the Olympic trials. He did all this stuff. He made these level jumps, and now he's a pro. He has so much to look back on and say, man, I was tested on this level when I made it through. I was tested on this level when I made it through. Tested on this level when I made it through. For me, I'm right here, and I have nothing really to go off of, right? Mm-hmm. No foundation to really go back and say, yeah, I was tested here. But yet, the situation, like Bronny James, is almost like, no, you should be this good right here with nothing else to back me up.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I have no foundational.
He should have been fighting for world titles.
Yeah, I have no foundational confidence because I haven't been through the struggle yet. Mm-hmm. But everyone is telling me, well, you need to be good here, right? And I have nothing to fall back on. It's a weird one. I'm not explaining it right, but it's a weird one where,
I think okay, so because you have all your dad, right, and you're saying you don't have the experience that dad had from the Olympic trials and all these ups and downs and everything to base your confidence off.
Yes,
of, like,
so think about it. If he was put in my spot
this many times by this guy, but you still got up, so you don't have that actual situational confidence.
Yes.
Correct.
So if he was put in my spot, would he do the same thing I was able to do, or would he fall? Because he was able to reach for his foundational support. I've been through this. I was tested here. I was tested that. Imagine going into your first fight feeling like you needed to have all this foundational confidence because you don't have the luxury of losing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, where would you go to? What is your I
lost my first 2 amateur fights.
Yeah, right? So you're going in there and, like, but I couldn't do that. What if I had lost my first 2?
Yeah.
What are they saying then? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have the luxury of figuring it out.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just me, right? But, like, anybody, like Bronny James and, like, these guys that, Chris Eubanks even, right, to an extent, like, when they come into their father's sport, they're expected to be here, but they don't have the foundational confidence that the level jumps that they're doing. They're put on a pedestal right off the bat.
Yep.
And I wonder if their dads can do that. You know what I mean? Like LeBron.
I was kind of put in that position.
Like LeBron, when he's doing this, when he reached the NBA, he had already had all these achievements, and he was already like, yeah, I'm fucking good. You know what I mean? Where if he had started like first 8th grade game or whatever, and he's already being put on all this stuff, like, where do you reach for confidence? You haven't been in the sport that long.
You and I are kind of the same because remember, Grandpa was a fighter and he fought first Golden Glove champion, all that stuff, and he turned pro. And I didn't start fighting until I was 19, same age as you were. I just had more amateur fights than you. I had 35. You had 19.
I think that for me and Logan, something that part of what I had to do in my head was kind of slum mentality, where it's like this has to work out or nothing else will. That's the pressure I put on it to kind of continue to build with it. But some of the things I had to overcome, when I was like, even the fear of confrontation. Like growing up, I was a freezer. I was never confident to fight as a kid. I was actually terrified of it. So I had to overcome that, along with, and then because I was building that foundation, was like that cloud of doubt. I didn't have anything to anchor myself to as far as like, well, I can make it.
That's what I'm saying.
This doubt in my head, I had to like build something for myself.
Like, what do you erase the doubt with? What do you
around,
erase the doubt with?
Right?
You know what I mean?
But because of that, I have noticed that Logan doesn't have that fear of confrontation. You know what I mean? He walks around with this like embodied confidence of self that I didn't have at his age, which is cool to see, right? I carried myself in a specific way once I started training, but before that, I was a little bit always out here social and whatnot, but kind of scared. You know, I didn't really believe in myself, and I didn't believe myself to get out of a bad situation. Where Logan, you know, since he's been in middle school, that's never been an issue for him. Confidence thing, or feeling like he's not safe in his body if some shit goes wrong. You know, I mean, I think he had like an issue at a basketball court with some kid that kept swinging on him, and Logan walked me through the thing, and he was like, "Hey man, stop swinging on me because I'm gonna have to do something." But the way that he explained it to me, I'm like, if you really handled it like that, that's pretty cool. Because he kept giving the kid a chance until he had to slap him and be like, "I'm telling you, dude, like stop." And the kid fucking started crying and went crazy, and you know, Logan had to slap him a couple times, but he chose to slap him. He's like, "I didn't want to beat him up, Dad, because like this kid, he's kind of a fat kid that," and he was able to soul read the kid too. He's like, "This kid is so insecure, Dad," and he was just trying to prove something because of something that happened. Logan said something that the kid didn't like, and I don't know, but he read the kid and was already like, "Well, you're not really a threat, so I don't really have to fight you. I'm giving you a chance not to do this because I can see that you're trying to prove something, and this is gonna go bad for you." And he just slapped the kid up a little bit. Kid ran, called his mom. His mom came down, and Logan explained it to the mom too. He has this ability to speak to adults and like this confidence about himself. He like walked her through the situation.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
Things you didn't have.
I did. I slapped him. Like I didn't want to punch him because, you know, he was really upset because of this and that, and I was just defending myself. And these kids can say the same thing. I didn't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see. I'm like, this confidence you have about yourself, and if you can just channel and focus now, and kind of lock in on the consistency and the willingness to work hard, but also have that work smart downloaded, you got a good formula to work with here, buddy. But then, how do we handle the injuries? How do we handle the bad sparring days? What happens if somebody makes you look like a fool?
That's a
for 3
situation you
rounds
can
in sparring?
control.
Right.
But what about these that you can't? Right. Where does your mind go then?
Because that's when you find out.
For sure.
Find out.
You're tested on these little things. You know. The whole Chavez thing is interesting because that is I think that's an outside scenario of like, Chavez is plenty tough because you gotta be tough even to get scrutinized the way he is, and to keep going, and to keep fighting, right? Like that's a skill.
Especially when like I feel like a lot of the headlines of Chavez are him partying and stuff. You know?
Yeah, I mean he had his.
It's like every athlete. I mean, there's a few that don't, but even Jordan was like a major gambler, and he had his vice, a big, you know, but because he was like such a mecha star of his own,
but he's a winner.
That wasn't really the focus, and he was winning, right? But now when you're kind of like coming out of the shadow of your dad, who's like he's Mount Rushmore level of boxing, they're only gonna be looking in on your fuck ups and what you're not doing. Well, your dad didn't do this, and this guy likes to drink. He's never gonna make it. He likes to party. He likes girls. You know.
Yep.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
I've lost loved ones due to the negligence of others. If you or a loved one has been injured in an auto accident, I want to be there for you.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
And that's the comparisons that maybe he didn't deserve.
No matter how good you do, it's never going to be enough.
It's never
be
enough.
A world champion.
It's never enough.
Never.
Yep.
But I think that for him, if you have that instilled self-worth that is not external, then, like, you know.
And you think you're kind of searching for that in your own way right now?
No, I think I do feel I'm walking with this, like, I'm able to look back on the parts that didn't go well, the parts that I didn't do. I didn't show up to the best of my ability, and everything in between, and see it as, that's exactly the way it was supposed to happen. What's happening right now, this is playing out the way it's supposed to happen, and it only makes sense in hindsight. But, you know, to continue to find new paths and new ways to blaze bigger trails from it, I don't have that shame or guilt or around any part of it.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
But I didn't realize until the other side that I was tying a lot of my self-worth to the way this played out. And I'm able to look back at like where my head was at, like where was my mental health at in these moments of my life, even being in the UFC. Well, damn, some of those fights were some of the worst times in here. When on the outside, I was getting the interviews and the shout-outs and all the cool stuff. But in here, it was like a war that I was losing.
It's like, man, if you people only knew what's going on in my head right now.
Dude. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do this. Tyson said that, right? You couldn't walk a day in my shoes.
Something like that.
And when you're at war in here and out there, you know?
That's what I was telling the kid today. I was training. I was saying, man, there's so many people against you. You got to be on your side. You can't afford to be not on your side. You gotta walk in thinking you're gonna do everything right. You know, you can't be against yourself. That's the whole thing where, like, I get the whole, like, thinking negative so you can overcome with positive, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna be positive the whole time.
Right.
You know, like, when negative comes, I'm gonna erase it with positive, right? Like all that.
That's what shadowboxing was for me. Whenever I would have really good shadowboxing sessions, I saw it as a legit boxing session with my shadow, with like whatever's on the other side of this belief I have. For as much belief and confidence and like ability that I carry, there's a flip side of that coin. You know, like the as above, so below thing, where the other side of that is saying the complete opposite. You actually fucking suck. What do you mean you throw your jab like that? And it's just like, shadowboxing for me was like this meditation to listen to both and see who's in the front seat and who's not. And there was times where this one was in the front seat. Because
even then, that side can help you with shadowboxing. That jab is the one that's going to do it, so you do it better.
Right.
You know.
I was saying my client this morning is the way you shadowbox is the way you fight. The way you hit the bag is the way you fight. How can it change? So shadowboxing to me was one of the most important things I did. Is because the way I shadowbox is the way I was going to fight all the time. Because shadowboxing was natural. It's just a movement, right? And it's doing the movement you're going to do in the ring naturally. It's not going to be anything different. If I threw an uppercut and just did this, I'm not going to drop and throw it in a real fight. I'm going to do it the way I practice it, right? It's not like if I'm at the golf course and I'm just swinging crazy, I'm not going to go to the golf course later on and do it right. It doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So the way you practice and the way you are, the way you walk, the way you talk is the way you are all the time.
100%.
That's what you say. It's the way you enter the gym. Like you got to enter the gym with an intention.
But like that goes back to where was your head at when you left your house to go to the gym, and where was your head at when you were making your food, and all the way back to when you woke up.
It starts there.
Yeah, it really does, and it follows you.
Yeah, it's just the way you are. It's the way you are inside. The way you are outside the gym is the way you are inside the ring.
Which fighting is such a trippy thing. If you're willing to go there with it and like evaluate it to the depths of it, which I know you do, it's like all of this. It all plays in. Everything that's happening in there is happening out here.
And that's what we say, the way you approach the bag, the way you spar, that's how you approach life. If you don't want to swing, you're probably real hesitant in life too. You're probably trying to get all your ducks in a row before you make a move.
Yeah. You're on the fence.
As opposed to, no, I'm going to go in there and swing.
Correct.
And then it may be a bad swing, but you can't teach the guy. You can't teach that. There's some things you can't teach. You can't teach that kid to just go in there and start swinging and, like, fight. You know what I mean?
I've at times wondered what you guys would have been like if you were full strikers, like you also did Muay Thai and everything on the come up in a different, like the multiverse split, right? Because when you're shadowboxing and you have all these other things, it becomes this really cool flow of styles that you can mess with. Like when you watch Anderson Silva fight, and even now when you watch him train and stuff, he'll incorporate the like Wing Chun style of movement and take on a Muay Thai thing to a boxing thing and blend everything together. It's super cool.
So you're saying you wonder if we had a more exposed background to fighting, what we would have done with it?
Yeah, like I try to picture what you guys would how your shadowboxing would look if you had, access to these other.
Shadowboxing was a very big thing. Like he wouldn't let me out of the ring until I started. Now I saw I was sweating. Shadowboxing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then it would be like if someone was coming up to the ring, everyone wants to talk. If you're in the ring shadowboxing and people come up to the ring and they want to talk or say whatever thing, like, why are we talking? Why are you trying to talk to me? I'm in the zone right now. I'm trying to find my uppercuts.
Working.
I'm working.
When you clocked into
Yeah.
the session.
I'm at work.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? Like, don't come talk to me.
But
like,
then you got guys like Floyd Mayweather.
How's that?
Well, they're talking while they're training.
No, he does that just to mess around. When he's in a real gym, I mean, when he's really training, you don't mess with him.
You think the best fighter in the world is going to talk all the time?
No, he is
What about,
locked in all the
what about
time.
Prince Nassim?
That's a flow. That's
Yeah.
that's a flow. That's like a that's like a, what do they call it? Like the drunken master. That's just kind of like you're in your zone and you got your thing and you're dancing. That's, that's what everyone strives to get. I feel like that's like a nirvana. Like you're free from, what are they thinking about my style? This is my style. This is
You're
what I'm
enlightened,
doing,
brother.
Yeah,
You
like
really
that's
are.
like that's the pinnacle.
When you're
you know what I
there,
mean?
It's like
That's the
it's
free movement. That's the
a
free movement that we're
yeah,
talking about.
state of existence. Which
Man.
I mean, you guys have that too. It looks different, right? From like when I have it versus like when a boxer has it versus when a Thai guy has it versus when whatever.
Definitely.
You know.
You try to get in that flow state. Emmanuel Augustus. That's the.
Yeah.
You're looking up Emmanuel Augustus where he's dancing the whole time in the ring, and that's just flow. You know what I mean? That's his style, and it's throwing this guy off. And that's.
And I think like successful people all around have. I was watching a podcast with Matthew McConaughey in it, and that thing that he does in Wolf of Wall Street, that was what he did forever. Like anytime he was about to do whatever it was, an audition or start the scene for the first scene for the movies in, that was his thing to get him out of whatever like boxes he would put in about his ego, like don't act this way, don't act that way. This whole like and making weird noise and stuff would pull out the vulnerability of him to just be like, oh yeah, I'm here. This is I'm about to exist in full flesh here.
Yeah.
But I got to hit my flow state first.
Imagine Prince Nassim going into a fight, knowing how he moves, and he goes into a fight like this.
Yeah.
You would think he's not right.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not flowing or whatever. There's a fight coming up in San Antonio, right? There's the Noche FC card, or is it UFC Noche? How does that go?
UFC
I think it's
Noche,
UFC Noche.
which was supposed to be in Mexico.
It was supposed to be in Mexico.
Yeah.
That's the same day as the Canelo Crawford fight.
Is it
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think what's going on is they put the Canelo Crawford fight during the day, and then they're
Really?
doing the UFC
So
Noche
they're working
card
with each
at
other
night.
here, huh?
Yeah, I mean Dana White was at the press conference that they did this week, and they were basically, because there was a bunch of shit thrown at it because they were like, oh, so boxing's taking a back seat, then, right? Because Dana White's allowing it to happen, or Turkey Al-Sheikh is allowing it to happen, but they're like, no, like we're working together. The guy who's doing the
Putting it on the promoter.
from
For the Canelo fight.
Riyadh season.
Gotcha.
And they're like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a co-promoted day, right? So we first have the Canelo Crawford fight, and then we have the UFC card from San Antonio. And they're like, no, we're like, this is a TKO like joint promotion, so both events are gonna happen. Like, boxing is just boxing. Like, that is the main event. Like they're saying that is the main fight of the night, of the day. But we're just showing it during the day. And boxing fans didn't like that because they're thinking boxing's at night. It's not during the day. True fight fans want to see it at nighttime. Like we were saying one of the other podcasts, how many fights do you remember seeing like during the day? Like no one's really drinking during the day to watch that
Were
fight.
there outdoor fights during the day or no? Back in
Back in they used to have some, but while World Sports, when they were on, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they had big fights. Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Ali would fight during the day.
You just haven't seen it in a while.
So are
It
they
just
gonna
has- it's been- that
not
was in the
co-promote this,
80s.
but like they're gonna bounce off each other in a way?
Yeah, so-
or it's gonna be like one big day for Mexican fighters.
Yes, exactly. That's what they're promoting it as.
Well, what's the timeline gonna look like of this? Do you know?
I don't know. I have no idea what the times are. I
I
just
think
know
Canelo's
that.
fighting like at 1 o'clock in the
I think
afternoon.
they-
No, it's not that early.
I think they're just saying it's gonna go.
Lunch?
It's gonna go right from there to there. It's gonna go like from here, then you're going here. So they're they're working together instead of competing. It's
Yeah, because
different.
Dana's getting his hands into boxing now.
Yeah.
He's starting his own.
But there was a whole bunch of stuff happening there because this guy, Turkey Al-Sheikh from Riyadh season, he's putting on these big fights. He's making the Canelo Crawford fight. I believe it was Bob Arum who came out and he was saying that's how much Turkey Al-Sheikh respects boxing. He's bringing in a UFC promoter instead of working with all the other boxing promoters he has the option to. And everyone kind of was like, "Whoa, that's a little different. Like that, you're not lying. If he cared that much about boxing, why isn't he working with boxing promoters? Why is he going to the UFC promoter?" And it kind of threw a little wrench in how people saw the whole event. You know what I mean? So I don't know. He's just trying to do something different. I think there's no change if you keep doing the same stuff, right? Like there's no change, and I think Dana White and what he brings to that, he can make his own kind of promotion company, kind of like a UFC in boxing, that whole TKO brand. I don't know. Like, there is a possibility there to change things up. You can't keep doing the same stuff.
No.
And I think that's what this guy's saying is, well, y'all are all doing the same thing. How does this change anything if I go to the boxing promoters? Let me see what this UFC
They're
promoter
going
can
to
do.
do the same thing.
They're going to do the same
They're
thing.
going to change
Boxing
anything.
cards have become very stagnant.
Yeah.
You know, for real. Like,
Yeah.
when you go to a UFC card, if you show up for the first prelim, you're going to be entertained the entire time.
Mhm.
It's really impressive what productions come to, where, because I've been to a couple cards where I got there for the first prelim and stayed for the whole thing, and it becomes more and more and more and more exciting as you're there longer and longer.
Mhm.
But the entire time, you are being entertained.
Yeah.
It's an entertaining thing.
You know one thing, I like UFC, right? Obviously, I like UFC, but I just don't like the fact that you can't always see what's going on in that cage.
When you're live. When you're live. Yeah.
It's just, even
For
on
sure.
TV, sometimes, well, TV you can't because they're on top. But when you're out there out in the audience and you're trying to watch UFC, you could never really see well when they fall down, when they're on the ground, right? You don't see the fights, you don't see the grappling, you don't see any of that unless you're looking up at the screen. That's
1,000%.
Something has to happen. Maybe you should do glass around or something. I don't know.
I don't know about glass.
Not glass, but like a
It'd be
plastic.
sick if they like come
It's-
out with some like
Something you can see
X-Men
well. You
type
can't,
of
because once they
cage
fall
where it's, like,
down, you
translucent.
can't see anything. You can't see it. Once they're in the down of grappling, you can't really see if you're in the audience.
for sure.
You mean
It's
the guy
hard.
in the 30th row is going to see the arm control, the hand control? Like, he's
Yeah, they're gonna see he put his hands inside his gloves.
You know what I
They'll see
mean?
all
Like,
that.
he's not gonna like. Oh yeah, he's got good control of that hand. You see?
Well, you just don't see
40th
anything.
row
Once,
there,
but once
you
they
know?
go down, you can't see what they're doing.
Unless you
just-
look up at the
It's
Unless
just-
you,
yeah, you look up
you
at
might
the
as well be
screen.
home.
yeah.
You know?
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
drinks are free.
Let's go home. Yeah, but I mean, it's just that's the hard part. I wish they could always figure that one out. They should try to do MMA and type boxing rings as well, right?
They still do that.
They still do it, right?
Dude, the Japan scene for MMA is wild. There
Really?
is a massive market over there with Ryzen FC, and I don't know if I don't keep up with it like that, but I've seen MMA fights in the ring, and that's a thing. You know, Pride was in the ring.
Yeah, I remember that.
The rope setup is a little different, but dude, yeah, those from what I've seen online, those fights play out really well.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different thing. I've never done MMA in a ring. That'd be a completely new thing for me.
That'd be
For
cool.
sure
I
it'd be
mean,
different.
I mean, you see more that way, but
The octagon's huge too.
yeah,
The one that they have in the arenas is
Yeah.
it's really, I think it's 30 by 30 or 25 by 25.
Man.
It's big.
Wow.
You know?
we fight in 18
20
by
by 20?
18, 20,
Really?
20 by 20. The
20 by 20 inside the ropes.
Yeah,
I fought in some small rings before.
yeah. I used to fight in 18 by 18 or 18 by 18. Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, those small rings are crazy.
And when you're sick,
Nowhere to go.
they used to have a fight where I don't know if I ever fought one when I fought Chavez. No, when I fought Camacho Jr., I think we fought like in a 16. It was a small ring, and you have to fight. You can't
You have
move
to
around.
fight.
Back in the day, the San Fernando gym had like a 16-inch ring or 16-foot ring. It felt smaller than that, but man, I just know where to go. You go out here and you're at this rope, and you're at this rope.
Yeah.
You know?
Bare knuckle does, I think, 5 or 6 sides to the ring. It's not square. Bare
It's a
knuckle.
circle I've seen.
Is it? Oh yeah, you're right. It's a circle.
Yeah.
What about if you guys? I'm sure you've seen this, but Karate Combat, where it's a mat that elevates at the ends.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen those. Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool.
Mm.
There's also some of these like, have you heard of? I don't know if is it Street Beefs?
Street beefs. That's on YouTube. But there's one in here in town though.
Really?
There's one here. I forgot what it. I
No
forgot what
way.
it is. There's a street. There's like
There's
a
a local.
local bare knuckle thing because apparently like you can have an event if everyone is
Agrees.
agrees like
Sure.
you can do it. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's like a loophole in the
Wait,
system.
is it like bare knuckle boxing?
It's bare knuckle.
Dude,
Wow.
you need to send me the location.
Yeah, it's bare knuckle. I forgot what it's called.
That's
It has a
awesome.
funny name to it, but it's local. Like it's running now. But
What?
Well, they just passed the bill to bare knuckle fights are going to be able to happen
In
here.
Oh,
Texas.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
you guys. We had this conversation.
Yeah.
well, when we talked about it, it was a thing that it was up in the air.
Mhm.
It just passed maybe like
just
a couple
passed.
of weeks ago.
Yeah.
No,
Interesting.
a couple of days ago. A couple of days ago, it just passed, and now they were a couple of weeks ago. They're talking about it's going to go into the bill, whatever.
Yeah.
It finally passed. To say it's
They were
gonna
redoing
happen.
that bill, and now they finally
Yeah.
wrote.
Yeah.
You guys know Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson?
Mhm.
So he, obviously, he's retired now, but he's been a very successful Twitch streamer. So he's a big gamer. and he's been on Twitch for a long time. But it's really funny because I'll see clips of his streams come up, and he'll review street beefs.
Oh yeah.
With guys that have no idea what they're doing, and he'll review them like they're real fights, and he's like laughing the whole time. And he actually now collabs with one of the street beefs fighters. Like, what's his name? Can't remember his name, but this guy wears like a Naruto headband.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And they do collabs, and it's hilarious.
I know who you're talking
They'll
about.
train together, and Dimitri's just like bullies him the whole time. But it's like because of the streaming like age that we're at right now, it's so popular, and then now you've got like street beefs and what you're saying, this local thing. It's interesting because everybody wants to see a fight, and honestly, even me as a professional, I'm always down to see two guys that don't really know what they're doing fight.
It's like the tough men fights.
Great.
Remember
It's
like
great,
those
dude.
tough men's competitions? Remember those back in the day? You remember tough man
Tough man,
competitions?
Yeah.
tough man, yeah.
Where
Those
it
were
was
like-
like the toughest guy from one city,
Yeah.
like Philadelphia's toughest bar fighter, right?
Exactly.
And they'd go in there with boxing gloves, and they were gassed.
Yeah.
Gassed.
I saw one on ESPN Plus ESPN2 a long time ago. I was in middle school. It's not street beefs. Tough man competitions were on ESPN, and there was a guy they had to stop the fight, and he's right here like on the ropes, and he's just throwing up. Like
Everybody's got to punch his chance,
you know what
dude.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And even like friends of mine that you remember when I took my cousin James and he sparred with Dito.
Oh yeah.
That was his first time sparring in a boxing gym.
Wow.
And that was like I think a few weeks before he left to the army, and it was an experience for him. He called me after, and he's like, I can't believe I've gone this long in my life without feeling that. It was a crazy experience. I've never felt any sort of rush like that in my entire life from just sparring.
Yeah.
You know, but I think every
There's
man-
people around watching that.
Yeah,
so that
dude.
was
Like, there's
it was
like
an environment.
there was like 20 people there.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
day
and
was
people
a
are
lot.
into it too. People are like
We had the music going
paying
too.
attention to you. Yeah, and you would turn the music off in between rounds, so
Yeah.
it's a whole experience that you're feeling. And if you've never been training or around it,
Yeah.
it's like it's a life changing experience for you. It's like that movie Fight Club, dude, where
Exactly.
these guys that are working 9 to 5s
Yeah.
and just miserable because they don't have anywhere to take it.
Exactly.
You go to a basement,
That's how these guys
beat the
feel.
brakes off
when
each
these
other, and now you
guys,
feel like you're reborn.
these
Yeah.
guys come in, they finally get in the ring and they spar. I think that's the best thing that ever happened.
Like
to
where have I
me.
been? The whole,
Yeah,
Yeah, you're late, dude.
When can I fight again?
And the amount of men that I see at your gym that are well past 60 that are
Yeah.
in it, bro. And when you talk to them, they're excited about it.
Yeah.
And they're asking
And
questions
that's the thing
about
too.
it.
Like sometimes I'll on the Leija Boxing Instagram, I'll put videos up of these guys that are going hard, right? And I always get a comment back like, "Oh, is this the old timers class?" I'm like, "This guy's got more fight than you got."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like he's gonna make you an old timer. This guy's got some fight. He's fighting something. You know what I mean? Like it's just you never know who's got that fight. You know, you never know. Like you never know who's fighting something. You know.
Yeah, bro.
What do you think about John Jones retiring? No one knows what. I mean, he didn't really specify why he was retiring. You know what I
It
mean?
was interesting. They like announced it at a press conference too. Dana announced it like after this last weekend's fight at a press conference, and then coincidentally, a few days later, there was a report that came out where his name was being thrown around in a hit and run case situation going on, which obviously sounds devastating, right?
Sure.
But then, like 48 hours later, there's like a new conversation around. There wasn't even any proof of him being there. I don't know all the details of it, but I apparently a woman called in that she was with John Jones and he left the scene, and but there's actually no proof of him being there, and I don't know if they've gotten as far to get footage.
So you
or
don't know
what.
if it's just. You hope it's not tied together.
I find it strange that it was announced the way that it was for it being John Jones. So I would imagine that a PR situation where it's like, hey, let's get you off the roster right now before this breaks light, so we can beat it. Maybe not, but
Maybe it's just the UFC saving themselves.
it's a weird thing with him though, man. I mean, depending on who you're asking, like the amount of time he was in the UFC dominating the way that he did, you know, on the surface it is like you are the greatest of all time in so many ways. How much of this are we going to bring into the conversation to where the greatest of all time is also being judged based off of like your character outside and how you behave yourself outside? Are you still the GOAT, or, you know, especially if your character never changed? Somebody like Mike Tyson, for instance, you take who he was, you know, and the interviews and how he was speaking, the things he would say, the way that he acted. even getting arrested and going to prison. And then you take that and compare it to now. I feel like that is, in my lifetime, that's the biggest example of who you are isn't who you have to become or who you have to be. And everything about him is just different now.
Yeah.
Everything. He's carved himself out and become a new man because of it. And so there's a respectable thing about that. He never shied away from taking ownership of his mess ups either.
Yeah.
With John, there's always been this weird thing where it's almost like he does these like heinous things outside, you know? And then you see him on camera and it's very much like he's doing the Christian role of like nice guy role. Where it's like, are you not even gonna acknowledge this dog in you, bro, ever, fully? Which I don't feel like he has.
Which probably makes more people want to bring that out. Like, oh, I'm gonna pull on this thread because he's not exposing it.
And then you go back and you see the guys that he fought, and the last like few fights, man, the guys that he was fighting weren't necessarily the pinnacle of where they were at. He's had a couple of questionable wins too. I knew like that Reyes fight. A lot of people think he lost that fight. And then even a couple of guys that he fought leading up to even fighting Stipe Miocic. When he fought Stipe Miocic, I was like, this is not a good look. Stipe was like, I think 38, 39, but he's also he's like a firefighter. Stipe's been a firefighter his entire life. So he's 40, but firefighter and MMA fighter 40, you know?
Yeah.
Blue collar 40. And even like when he went in there to fight, like, bro, he's so stiff now.
Yeah.
And I love Stipe. I think Stipe, like 7 years ago versus John Jones, whole different fight. But you could see it.
Yeah.
And then the way John, you know, took that fight and owned it like it was this, like, oh, I just dethroned the greatest heavyweight of all time. I mean, yeah, but you also dethroned him like 8 years after he was.
It was Pacquiao Mayweather. It just happened too late.
Right. So I don't know, bro. I mean, it's weird. It's weird. The stain on his legacy.
Yeah. What's your take on the Charles Oliveira fight and Ilia Topuria? They're fighting. What do you think?
Of course, right. But okay, what do you mean my take though? Give me a more specific.
Give me your
question.
prediction. Give me how that goes. Like,
You want
I
my
know
prediction?
that.
Okay.
I know that.
Just from like an analytical perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I know that Charles Oliveira ain't the.
What he used to be.
He ain't what he used to be, and he's not favored. So, but he's a dog.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite UFC fighter.
Yeah, dude, and
He's
that's
just
so.
And you always tell me about the hands that Ilia has. You know what I mean? So like.
Yeah, and you've seen his highlights too, right? You've seen his fights. I have this theory that there's a window for fighters where they are God mode. It's like a God mode thing where your skill is peaked, your confidence is peaked, and the persona that you have how the fans see you is peaked.
You're talking about McGregor.
Yeah, you have that. Even like Ronda Rousey, right? Like,
yeah.
Where you have this like small window of invincibility with your aura and your skill and everything.
It's like 4
to match
years.
it. Right, yeah.
4, maybe 5.
Yeah. I mean, Sugar Sean had it for a bit there. Until
Yeah.
he fought Merab. And then he just lost again to Merab. So now that aura, like you still have all these accolades, but
He's
that aura's
humbled now.
gone,
He's humbled
right?
now. Yeah.
I feel like Ilia is in God mode right now. I really do. It's kind of when I watch him fight, I'm like, everything he does is he knows what he's doing. He's decisive, and you're just kind of there. You're just a presence in front of him that when we've had these conversations, like, I know what I'm doing. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Take that and multiply it by 100, which is what he's doing in there. So analytically, I think that it would make sense for him to finish it in the first 2 rounds.
Jeez.
Because of the power. And he also has ridiculous jiu-jitsu, which you just never see it because he doesn't have to show it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's there, you know? Or like, I'm going to beat you with this sword, but I also have 2 pistols on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if this breaks.
Right.
Yeah.
But dude, Oliveira also, to y'all's point, there's that dog. There's that.
You can't count him out. I don't think you can.
And he's also the fan favorite. He's the people's
Yeah,
favorite, bro.
definitely.
He's the people's champ.
His submissions are so good, right?
Instagram is hilarious too because whenever I see these videos of like who's gonna win the fight, the comment section is always like Charles Oliveira by illuminated by God or Charles Oliveira by people's like the faith of the people or some shit. And
Yeah.
you can't ever count Charles out ever.
Why is he so liked? It's just personality, though, right? He just.
It's because of the way he dogged it out, man. I think he was in the UFC for 10 years before he got a title. And in his earlier first couple contracts, there was some signs of what people would perceive of him quitting, where, you know, he tap to a sub that wasn't fully in, and you could see it. He was like defeated after the defeat, where there's something going on there. And then the way he climbed it up, and you know, I think the hair dyeing thing, and just the mannerisms that he took on too, without ever taking it to the Sugar Sean level of like you have to talk and be the certain way. But he dressed really well, and he has this swagger about him.
But
bro.
he's respectful to people too.
Super
He goes up to
respectful.
everybody, shakes their hand.
And that's
It's
the
like,
thing with
wow,
Brazilians, man. It's so weird because I've had a lot of Brazilian training partners over the years, and it's weird because before sparring, they're like, oh yeah, okay, you know. As soon as that sparring round goes on, dude, it's that they're like a monster.
Yeah.
The way they look and everything, everything they're throwing, they're trying to hurt you.
The eyes change.
As soon as it's over, those like, oh, go training, bro.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
amazing. The nicest guys. It's
It's the
specific
shark thing. The eyes go
It's a
back.
primal thing, yeah.
You know.
And so, you know,
So you're saying within 2 rounds? You're saying
yeah. Analytically speaking, I think the first 3 rounds is like it's all in his favor, but Charles is also gonna march forward.
Yeah, for
March
sure.
forward, and
That's
he has
what
a
I'm
really
thinking.
good push kick, that front leg push kick. So he creates a threat with that line of defense right here.
He's taller, ain't he?
He's taller too.
Yeah.
And the way that he holds his height, he stands straight up in this tie stance. Most of his weight's in the back leg. He'll check kicks, so he's not going to eat low kicks. And that front leg is a problem because he'll jab it right up your gut with a punch right behind it and go straight to the clinch and just start bombing you with knees and elbows. And then if you do take him down, I mean, his off his back, he's a monster.
Yeah.
He'll have 4 submissions lined up while you're taking him down. He's already lining up the armbar, or the triangle. Okay, if that doesn't work, I'm fishing around for the omoplata, or I'm taking your back. Levels and levels to the jiu-jitsu.
So you're saying Ilya by sub?
I'm saying Ilya would finish him with strikes.
Strikes.
I think Ilya could hurt him with an overhand.
I would think Oliveira, if he gets hurt, he's going down.
Yeah, Oliveira goes down immediately like that. Now I'm curious to see where Ilya's jiu-jitsu matches up to that, because I've seen a lot of videos of him grappling, and his flow and what he goes for is like very high level, but I've never actually seen it in a fight. I don't think so, at least, or not that I can think of, and especially not to this level. So let's say he's not able to set up that boxing distance well, and let's say that Charles throws a couple early push kicks or lands a couple early knees and creates a dogfight out of this. Ooh, this is fun. That's what I want.
Yeah. You
I
already said
want to
second
see
round.
Charles pull off a sub in like the
Yeah.
third or fourth round. You know,
Well, the first round.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah. He get right behind him and boom, it's over with. That's what I'm calling first round.
Damn.
Yeah.
First round for Charles.
Yeah.
I like that. This is what's great about MMA, bro. Is that you can have this conversation. Like it can go so many different ways, and to your point, yeah, he could actually sub him in the first round with a guillotine, quick.
I don't think of you, not changing the subject, but
I like Ilya though. I will say this: I really like his style. I like the way he fights. And I don't think that it doesn't seem like it's fully. He's like escaped it to where it's gotten away from him. I think that he's still grounded in what he's doing.
Yeah.
And
It's not
he's
gone to his head yet.
first guy from Spain to get it to this level. So there's that like conquistador thing.
Got country
going
behind
on.
him. So before we get out of here, real quick, we gotta talk about Canelo Crawford, right? That's coming up later. But like, make a prediction, early prediction. We still have months, but make a prediction.
When's
real
that
quick.
fight?
That's in September.
Oh, September. Oh, I thought it was July for some reason. Man, that's a long way to go. I say Canelo's going to beat him. I don't know if he'll stop him, but if he does stop him, it's 8th, 9th, or 10th round.
Late.
I think Canelo's too big or too strong. He takes a great punch. He's hard to hit. He has a great jab. Crawford has to go up 2 weight classes to beat him. Crawford's punch is not going to be the same as it is at 47, 54. I just think Canelo beats him.
What do you think? You going against Canelo, or you going against,
I honestly don't feel qualified for the fight prediction because I've never followed Terrence Crawford. Like
Yeah,
I've only seen small.
He's one of the
clips
best
here
fighters
and
in the
there.
world. One of the best fighters in the world. It's not right now at this point. But people don't. I mean, he's not a fan favorite. People don't see him. He's not.
But
verbal.
some of
He
the
doesn't-
chatter that I've heard is like
Not
people,
only that,
like he doesn't.
He's just the guy.
I've actually seen some guys that a lot of their content, like boxing analysts, is like Terrence Crawford hater material.
Yeah.
Where they're like, look, dude, like he I saw this one video where he's like, look, put him against the ropes there and doesn't take any advantage of it, just lets him off the ropes. Like, he's just here to score points, man. He's
But,
not going
but
to fight.
that's not. It's okay though to win. You're still winning. But who has he beaten that to say he's the pound for pound fighter of the world?
That's the argument Canelo brought up at the press conference.
Well, what weight does he fight at, Terrence? Typically
47, 54.
between 47 54.
So he's going
Canelo's
up.
now what?
60, 65.
66.
So what weight class are they fighting at?
So Canelo's.
60 or 65?
He's going up 2 weight
65,
classes.
Yeah.
So to 60?
Mm-hmm. 2 weight classes. He's going.
Canelo's a big boy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So if Canelo's fighting at 60, he's walking in 90.
That's a dense Mexican, bro.
But Crawford is a good fighter. He is a great fighter, but he just hasn't beaten the best fighter in the world or fighters in the world. He's always been the better fighter, but like Canelo said, who has he beat?
And then Crawford says, well, I beat Victor Postal. And he's, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's
Yo, by the way,
who's that guy? He's still fighting?
Canelo speaking English is like one of the greatest things for me to watch.
Yeah.
He speaks English well.
He does, man. But when I hear it at press conferences, like the things he says, it's like he's like, it's kind of like Khabib. Khabib's really funny, but he's not trying to be funny. It's just that English is not his first language, and the way that he strings these things together, it's well said, but it's also hilarious. And Canelo's the same thing.
He's good. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
I think so. That's a interesting fight just because it's two guys that are just, they've been unified. They've unified their divisions. They were like champions. Is this the top class, like rare air fighters? But again, Canelo is just...
Well, and plus Canelo has trouble with movers, so I see Crawford's going to be moving around a lot.
Crawford's going to have success.
No, he's not going to move. He's not going to go to No, he's not going to go to Canelo. Canelo's going to pick him apart. But if he moves around, it gives Canelo trouble.
I think this one would be kind of like very similar to...
So if Crawford wins, he's going to beat him by decision. He's not going to knock him out.
Yeah.
I think it would be very similar to like Amir Khan and Canelo, where Khan had...
knock him out?
He knocked him out, but later rounds.
Was it sixth?
But Khan had won like 5 out of the...
Did he?
He won like 5 rounds.
That's the thing in boxing.
And Canelo doesn't do well with movers.
Or people that punch a lot. And Crawford doesn't punch a whole lot, but he can switch. He can do many different things in the ring. He's a very skilled fighter. Doesn't do a whole lot. He's good when he turns it on. He's also a fighter that turns on late, like Canelo. So I think the later rounds in the fight are going to be entertaining. The first couple rounds are going to be snooze fest. I think the first 5 are going to be just boring.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed with boxing is like there's still a lot of this like behind the scenes stipulations that go in, like when Tank fought Ryan Garcia and there was this like rehydration clause and all these little.
Yeah, they try to do all that.
I think I would, because once Canelo's retired, like what's the next name, right? And so like
because Gervonta said he's going to retire this year.
So what happens now? Like
happening.
how do we make boxing more of like a gamble where how do we get rid of the stipulations? How do we get rid of these hydration clauses? And how do we make it more entertaining of a sport to where these guys aren't able to carve out their paths in a way that's predictable?
It's
like, of course he took that fight.
It's the whole thing of the NBA, right? Like right now the power lies in the player. And before it was in the ownership. It was in the GM. It was on the team, right? The team's going to tell you what they're going to do with you. Right now
it's the superstars?
Now it's the fighters. They're making so much money that they're saying, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? It's not the other way around. I'm for fighters getting paid, but at the same time, the power is in the fighters. It's not in the promoting company. It's not in the company. It's in the fighter. If you don't want to fight that, you don't have to fight. If and it's kind of I would like to see a UFC approach.
It's softening the game, right? When the guys get to make decisions. We'll fight you, but I want 10-ounce gloves or 12-ounce gloves. And I also want this. They're making everything to their favor.
Correct.
And it just softens up
these extra stipulations.
It softens up the sport.
And your hand wraps can't be made out of it or whatever it is, right?
Like I had a guy at the gym come up to me yesterday, and he goes, so you got to explain to me this Canelo and Skull fight that just happened. You're right. Like the Canelo's latest fight that just happened. It was a snooze fest. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Right. It was just like it was a boring
like
fight.
An exhibition match or something.
It basically
that
was.
Guy ran like a track race.
Yeah. Right. But Canelo got 80 million, and he came up to me and he goes, "Why wouldn't Canelo 80 million?" And he goes, "Why wouldn't that guy fight? Why wouldn't Canelo fight that fight?" And he goes, "Well, he has $100 million fight next."
Wait, how much did that other guy make?
5, I think.
5 or something.
Damn. Yeah. So the UFC's cutthroat. Right, and like there's this whole conversation about fighter pay, which I agree, right? Yeah. But what you do have here is you got a line out the door, and if you don't want to fight for 10 and 10, that's fine. We got 1,000.
Exactly.
We got like 500,000 other guys right behind you that are willing to fight for 10 and 10.
And that's how that's how it should be. Where right now in boxing, it's not like that.
So what do you think if you were drawing the line between fighter pay and this hunger thing that we got going on, the cutthroat situation, what is a fair amount?
I think for me, I think the way that Dana White might be going about it and TKO might be the way. It's you're getting this much base, right? You have incentives for your.
I thought he was doing a show and win like the UFC, or is it no, it is contract, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole thing is like, but they have tiers of pay for like just I'm assuming they do for
I
UFC.
saw the pay scale and I'm like, that sounds about right.
So when they're doing this though, it's almost like you have to have incentives for performance, right? Like right now, Canelo had no incentive. What if I gave you for Canelo? It'd probably be $20 million more if you knock this guy out or whatever, right? Like, but at the same time, in these fights, you have to have incentives for performance. There's nothing saying if I'm jabbing and I'm winning and I'm running, I could win the fight, but it's not entertaining. UFC has these things in place that keep the fans entertained, right? It's also a business.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they set a cap? They're like, look, you're going to make $1 million. That's where you start.
Yeah.
But if by round 3 this and this doesn't happen, we bumped you down to 600,000.
Well, that's how Jake
whatever.
Paul beat Mike Tyson. He said,
There's always those
if you
guys
don't
that-
knock me out in the first round, you get this much. If you don't knock me out, if the fight goes all the way the distance and I win, you get all your full pay.
Dude,
There's
when I was a
incentives for
server, this is like my least liked person ever is the guy that would get to the table and be like, look, got a $20 bill with your name on it, and every time you mess up, will you lose $1 or something like that? You know what I mean? I'm
I
like,
never tried that.
Hey, that keeps you honest, though, right? And that may be something we can try.
That's something that
It's $50 right here. It's all yours, but every time you mess up, $10 comes off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But what I started doing with those guys is I started to mess up on purpose. I'd be like, you know what?
I don't need
it
this.
ain't worth it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And again, boxing, there is some revamping that needs to be done because once Canelo's done, once Gervante's done, once Crawford's done, all these guys are at the end, right?
Yeah,
So
Crawford's what, 40 or 38?
he's already almost out the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now, who is it, right?
There's no household boxing names, bro. I mean, you guys even know about at least 10 UFC fighters. Even if not on the top of your head, if I said their names, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Name 10.
10 UFC fighters?
Yeah.
Shout
Like
out.
the one that's fighting Oliveira, I had never heard of him.
Elite Topuria?
Yeah, I never heard of
Yeah,
him.
you have, because I've shown you his highlights.
Well, but I don't remember
And
the
I
name.
remember when I was a few months ago. There's
said
been a
this
couple
guy's
times,
boxing's
but it's
insane.
like it's like when you're in the
Yeah.
middle of a private. I'm like,
Yeah.
Check this guy out.
pulling you away.
All right,
Like-
so that's I don't.
So yeah, you got Charles. I mean, okay, well, not even the guys that we mentioned. You've got Mario Bautista. You've got Cody Garbrandt. You've got Sean O'Malley. You've got,
Yes, I've heard of them.
of course, Charles Oliveira. You've got, and then you've got Valentina Shevchenko. I can't remember Jessica's last name. Valentina Shevchenko. You've got Rose Namajunas.
She just fought.
Yeah, she did. You've got.
She did great.
She's my favorite female fighter.
She fought last weekend. She did great.
Yeah,
Or like
she's a
2
good
weekends
fighter.
ago.
Man. She's really. She's been in the sport for a long time too.
Mm.
You know.
Doug Rose.
Doug Rose,
Doug
man. I
Rose,
mean,
yeah.
she's had some incredible fights along the way. You got Zhang Wei Li, and then you've got Aljamain Sterling. You've got what's his name?
I think Holly Holm just called out just the Brazilian
Amanda Nunes.
Amanda Nunez. Yeah.
You've got that new girl in the UFC now who she just fought. I can't even remember her name, but there's the girl that beat Amanda Nunes and choked her out, Mexican girl, who unfortunately has been exposed because she actually has really, 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 really bad technique. It's bad. Like, she makes women's MMA look really bad with how bad she is. There's this new girl that's in the UFC that came from PFL, I believe, and I'm drawing blanks on the name
PFL,
for some
wow.
reason, but she's like a 35er, but she's built like a gymnast slash, she's big.
He used to be
massive,
big on,
incredible wrestler, crazy striker, and now it's like, okay, Sonya Blade just pulled up to the
Yeah.
game, so who's going to show up to fight her now?
He used to be big on Cyborg, Chris Cyborg. You remember Cyborg?
Yeah,
Of course,
when
man.
she was around, right?
Yeah,
Until who got a hold of her? Amanda Nunez. right?
Nunes,
Yeah.
dude. That was towards the end with Chris
Yeah.
Cyborg, and honestly, the UFC treated there's a whole thing with that where the UFC didn't give her.
Cyborg was married to
She-
one of the guys, right? A UFC fighter as well.
Cyborg was married to, I think his name was Chris Cyborg. Pete fought him, knocked
Yeah.
him out with a spinning back fist with like
Whoa.
1 second left. It was super, a buzzer beater. Knocked him
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
flatlined him. Super cool. But yeah, that guy was a monster coming up. Who else just fought this past weekend? I'm drawing blanks on names, but I can see faces.
Yeah.
Heaps of names there.
Boxing
Joaquin
needs
Buckley.
that.
Joaquin Buckley just fought.
Yeah.
That
we saw
dude's
that. We saw him.
Who did he fight? Kamaru Usman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, yeah.
That was like a dad fighting his son.
Yeah.
It really was.
Who won
And,
that
like,
fight?
Kamaru.
Yeah.
And when they were striking, though, you could see that Joaquin's youth and like that confidence and just power made Kamaru be like, oh shoot, I had to take him down. But it was like he big broed him at the end. Like he was like he fathered him, which just held him against the fence, just beat him up.
Yeah, so yeah.
You know, but it was a good experience for Joaquin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Kamaru, it's crazy to see Kamaru competing at this level still. That guy has no cartilage in his knees, none.
But
Can't
see,
run
that's the
treadmills.
thing. That's the thing that boxing needs, though, is these names. Because right now you have Ryan Garcia, you got Rolly Romero, who are making millions of dollars.
You
Right?
got Bam.
Bam is great. Bam is one of those names, but again, he's a small weight class.
But why
He's a
is,
small weight guy.
yeah, for as
Good as
why
she
why is there not much more buzz around him?
He's a lower weight class guy. There is a lot of buzz around him in the boxing world.
You got
But-
Brandon Royval, Tatsuro Taira. I was just thinking Brandon more.
But Bam is smaller weight classes like that are huge in Japan and China.
Yeah.
And wherever else.
Oh, so
But in America,
Bam has
they
a big.
don't-
Well, he does. He goes out there too.
Yeah,
I've
but
seen
even
him
then,
visiting
those guys
Japan.
are smaller in Japan, right? They're just smaller guys, so like,
a lot more smaller guys than there are here that are fighting.
so they respect that. You know what I mean? He fights like a Japanese style fighter too, so it
Yeah?
has very
Really?
technical. Very technical. He has power. He'll take risks. Like he's a calculated risk, but he's great skill fighter.
He's a great fighter.
Knows how to use his jab. Knows how to set up the punch he wants.
Yeah.
Very skilled. Very like
Doesn't get hit a lot.
Doesn't get hit. Very clean. Very surgical. You know. Even when he went down, it wasn't like a big punch. Like he got caught, flash knockdown, got back up, and it's like all right. But like all these little things are just like those go into like the discipline of the sport, as opposed to guys just going in and banging. You know what I mean?
There's an art to his
There's art to it. It ain't Deontay Wilder,
It ain't
who's
Pitbull.
fighting soon too. I think this weekend. I think he's fighting tomorrow.
He's fighting the guy from San Antonio.
Tyrell.
Oh yeah,
Wonder how that goes.
I heard about that.
By the time this airs, y'all will know how it went. But I wonder how it goes. But yeah, he approaches things like that. And again, they usually say when you have more discipline towards your you know your fight or MMA, boxing, whatever, and you have more discipline towards it, they always say it's not American. You know, I don't know why, but it is the way it
It
is.
ain't
you know?
American, brother.
But yeah, I mean,
What do you mean
smaller-
by that? What do you mean though? It ain't American. How so?
I think there's more discipline overseas. I think it's more of
Oh,
like
yeah.
you know, there's more. You just see people respect the sport. I think
It's more
you know?
technique.
Hey, you guys seen that guy Carlos Prates? He's one of those MMA nerds I was telling you about. He's a 45er. Dude rips darts. He's smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
Like, it's part of his brand.
Cigarettes.
He smoked a cigarette like when he got to the arena for his last fight.
Yeah, he's
And
trying
he's
to
out
That's
there
like it's like Ricardo Mayorga.
Ricardo Mayorga.
crushing it and killing it. Which,
Mayorga,
to-
the fighter, the boxer, he used to do that all the time. He smokes cigarettes.
yeah, and from what I hear, guys in Thailand do that too. A lot of these Thai guys will be smoking heaters like before their fights, in between rounds and stuff. It's crazy.
I don't doubt it.
But are we, as a fighter, can you break these stigmas and like, do you have to be like
Yeah.
living in a box with this like everything's discipline all
I
the
think
time?
it's
or-
teach their own. You know, I think everything with what's the word? Nothing to excess. Everything
Grain
in
of salt.
everything in moderation.
Did you
is the
did
word.
you use THC when you were fighting? Or
I wish I did.
you didn't. Okay.
I wish I did, bro. I probably I don't know. I don't know where I would have gone.
Once I got a hold of like understanding, or once I was able to get to the strains and like knew what I was using, incredible.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
and again,
like,
that's
some of the
that's
best-
the
Shadowboxing sessions I've had was
Mm.
like off of like a 5 milligram edible.
some of the best workouts.
Yeah, dude.
Not
that mind muscle connection is different.
yeah. Most like here's how I explain it. Whenever someone says THC or marijuana or weed, and I'm explaining the benefits of it, the first thing that they get to is their initial feeling towards it.
They're like, what?
Oh no, you know,
I don't mess with that.
I don't mess with that. I had a bad experience one time,
yeah,
whatever, right?
And I get drug
But-
tested at work.
So then I always try to get to the main point that I'm trying to get to. But initially everyone's they just get caught at the first feeling of it. You know what I mean? Like their first initial thing.
The
I'm like,
walls
no,
are up,
like
dude.
let's get around your initial feeling and let's talk about what can actually happen, the
Yeah.
actual benefit of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
If I'm talking to somebody and they're like they got their wall up about weed, I'm like, phew, wait till I tell you about ayahuasca, brother.
Exactly,
you
you
think
know?
this is your wall right now?
But you know, it's just one of those things. Like even now, like I keep thinking, like, and this may change as I get older. I don't know, but I'm glad it's being documented. But even now, I'm thinking, like, you know, there's parents that will make a drink in front of their kids, and drink in front of their kids, right? It's just normal. That's just, no one bats an eye,
Never.
right? But it's so weird to think that somebody may be rolling a joint in
Right.
front of their kid, right? Just because it is illegal, right? Of course, here in Texas. But, like, even then, like, is it – it's different in the sense of it, but alcohol is so much worse.
For
It's
sure.
so much worse that you're showing them something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you're making a cocktail and drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much worse to show them that lifestyle than this one.
And that's a whole different
You know what I
conversation,
mean?
just the power of marketing.
And that
Well, yeah,
alone,
but
like,
think
there's
about how
people
much-
watching this right now that would be like, whoa,
you're
wrong.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm thinking like, well, I don't think so. Just because you're taking this whole spin on it of what's legal and what's not.
And a lot of people
You know what I
won't
mean?
buy into it either. What I've noticed is like until one of their reaches for validity is met, like, oh, well, this doctor, I had a conversation with this doctor, like
Yeah.
something in their
Yeah.
head where they're like, okay, this guy's qualified to give this opinion, then they'll kind of shift their opinion
Exactly.
on it.
Me saying it on here don't mean anything. Their doctor says, hey, maybe you should try some
Right.
of this. You're right.
Yeah, and then
I think
they come,
you're right.
and then they
You
come
know?
to you, and they're like, "Man, I had this conversation with my doctor, and like, I guess
Well,
you know the
but
conversation
these-
we had," and you're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
these
You know?
people that say marijuana so bad go out and have some shots of tequila
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
vodka.
dude.
And how much
Slam a six-pack.
how much has liquor or alcohol have killed people in over the years of the
right."
last 100
And
years?
let's line that up with a direct correlation. I'm
Yeah,
sure
and
now there
marijuana,
are cases.
find out
I
how
bet
much-
somebody is
Well,
eating.
yeah,
an
we're talking
edible
about
too big and
marijuana
they
though.
Try to drive home.
But just
now you-
marijuana, how much do you think marijuana kills people? No, everyone's relaxed and chilled out and
1000%.
having a good time. They feel good about themselves. Or people that are drinking alcohol and driving and killing people.
100%.
If you smoke marijuana, you're driving. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
you're,
man,
you're
I
like
gotta-
not going to
man,
go a mile.
You're
over the
paying
speed limit.
attention.
Yeah, you're going
You
slow.
know,
You're not
10
going
and
fast.
2.
Yeah.
But not because you're paranoid. You're just aware, more
Yeah.
aware.
You're
of
seeing
what
it.
the
Oh, I didn't even
consequences
see
are
that.
around you.
I didn't even see that store driving by here 5 times.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
You're paying attention to what's
you know what I
around
mean?
you.
As
And
opposed to
alcohol,
Yeah.
You're out.
It's crazy, and people drink that in front of their kids all day long, and they don't care. They give their kids some. You want
It's even a conversation like
But
it's
if
a
you get
joke.
marijuana-
It's like, oh, you know, mom or dad, mom hasn't had her wine yet, and you know, mom or dad hasn't had his beer or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And but I mean, even now, dude, like even the psychedelics, like psilocybin mushrooms, ketamine therapy, all these things. There's a lot of different people talking about it from the perspective of they're educated and like all these things that people need for the to make it valid. Where what we're using these things for, it's whatever you thought growing up, like, oh yeah, you eat mushrooms and you like, oh, you become this, you know, void in the
Like,
world. But
the-
now people are using it specifically for a better outlook on life, or to overcome some form of
Yeah.
trauma, or to just release themselves from depression or anxiety.
it's
or,
the whole thing of too, like when people say, you know, smoking weed is gonna make you lazy and keep you in the couch or keep you like at home and you're not gonna get anything done. I get so much done. I do
Bro, yeah.
everything. Like I'm like, man, I will do everything. You know, it gives me motivation. It gives me things like, okay, yeah, I'm
Yep.
here.
If I
It-
smoke,
you
if
know?
I smoke at the crib, I look around, I'm like, oh shoot, this place is a mess. Actually, there's
gotta
a lot
clean
of
up.
things I need to get to work on right
yeah,
now. You know,
and no one sees like, no, I mean, I don't know. It's just one
there
of
is
those
a
things.
conversation
I
to be
gotta
had
paint the
about
house.
taking it too far, because there is
For
a level,
sure.
just like anything though. Yeah,
Yeah.
If you smoke too much, you're definitely gonna be couch locked or just kind of be stuck.
It's like if you drink too
But,
much, you're gonna pass
yeah,
out,
bro.
You know,
If you have too many slices of this pizza, you're gonna be really tired after.
exactly.
I was
And-
thinking about that. It says someone, I'm going to take a couple of puffs of whatever, right? Or I'm going to take a few drinks of tequila, so which is worse?
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and it's because we're in Texas. It's because we live here that people are thinking this way. We're so behind. But they're going to legalize the one that's going to kill you. They need people to die.
They're making money off it too, man.
You know what
A
I mean?
lot of money.
They don't want you to live.
Everything that we do, especially here in San Antonio, too, everything is tied to drinking. Fiesta,
Yeah.
any gaming event, Spurs games, any event, you know.
Like I just saw like the NBA title, right? Like the Oklahoma
finals,
City just won
The finals, yeah.
just won the finals, right? And all that beer that they just put in front of them, like all that liquor that they put in front of them, they didn't drink any of it. Like if you go back, like none of them drank any of it there. But look at everything that they were giving them, right? I can't wait for the day where there's like a bunch of like joints and blunts there. That's different, right? It's like
that's a
that.
different
Do that.
timeline,
That's
too, yeah.
safer.
Yeah.
Because you're giving these kids, they're not going to stay at the arena.
I don't see it going there though.
It's
to the
not.
public eye.
It's not. It's
No,
not going to go
it's
there.
not.
But at the same time,
That'll make a cool Black Mirror
me,
episode
I know that about 90% of those, 85 to 90% of the NBA players smoke weed.
though. Bro, yeah, and it's the same thing with fighters.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, well, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to bring it up there, but no one's drinking. They're drinking, but they're doing this. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, man. I don't know. There's a lot going on in the world, you know. You never know. We may get in that business if it opens up here. You never know. I might get in that business. There may be another thing in it for you.
That could be our business venture, dude. You know?
Hi, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, hi, guys. Yeah, that's the start right there.
Yeah, man. It was good having you in here again. I feel like I needed to catch up. We hadn't seen you since that.
We haven't.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Been
It's
grounded.
been a long time.
And then,
You gotta stop by.
Yeah, of course. I'll be back at the gym soon. I'm going to be bringing Logan, too.
Where can people catch you at? You're training people right now?
Not yet. So I'm starting with Rodrigo in the next couple weeks, and I'm gonna have my own. I'm gonna be running a kids program there, which the ages we haven't set in a lock on the ages yet, but it's gonna be fairly coordinated age. Depending on where you're at, but between 6 and 7 to 12 maybe or 11, and then of course to start the adult program shortly after that, where it's gonna be striking focused. To open the doors to understanding where boxing and Muay Thai meet, and how can you blend this into the mixed martial arts aspect of it, but always from the perspective of a striker, because that's my perspective. That's what I have done best and how I've mapped the fight game, which is great to have Rodrigo's banner to do it under, because there's always multiple black belts in the room, so to have that to lean off of, to merge the two together, it's a good blend to have access to.
Every fight starts on your feet.
Every fight starts on your feet, man.
That's it, man. CJ, glad to have you in here again, man.
Yeah, thanks,
Seeing
bro.
you guys,
Appreciate you, man.
Like
Thank
family.
you.
Like family.
Tell Logan that he's not using his gloves that I want him.
Okay, yeah. I forgot to tell him that one time that he told me. I gave him to James because he said, we said he was going to warm them up for you and break them in because you're not going to use them.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, man. It's good seeing you guys. Thanks for having me in.
We gotta have you back when those fights are happening, around UFC Noche. We'll bring you back in, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Even afterwards, we'll see how it went down.
We'll do a pre and post fight evaluation.
That'd be cool.
I'll bring my I get nerdy with the analytics if I'm sitting down. And
I mean, what you're looking at when you see that.
Yeah.
There's so much that I'm like, I know the hand stuff, but even then,
I'll translate it, man.
Yeah,
I got you,
that'll be good.
gentlemen.
Guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Leija Lounge. Again, like I always say, if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to tune in next week for our next episode. We got some good things planned for you guys. Thanks for watching.